how's it going? It's the Fuzz. Finally, I got around to it. Custom card contest number 6. Took me long enough. I know. Anyways, the theme for this one was make a multicolored hero. And yeah, see where we go with that. I'll go through all the submissions. There were few enough that I can cover all of them in a reasonable amount of time. Pretty good, honestly. Really well done for pretty much all of them. Almost all of them. So I'm going to go through them really quick. And then I'll pick my favorite one at the very end. Don't really even feel like doing the, this one's in the top 5. This one's in the top 5. I'm going to keep you guys in suspense. But yeah, I'm just going to pick the one card that I'll announce the winner at the very end. Anyways, let's keep right on rolling here. So from Marcus, we got Theron the Energy Guardian. Nice Jace art, by the way. There's actually a couple of these. So, Energy Shield. Basically, you're paying some amount of mana and giving yourself or a creature like a shield that negates a certain amount of damage. It doesn't state whether or not they stack. I assume they would. Like, if you had a shield for 3 and you give yourself another shield for 3, you'd have a shield 6. So, basically, you can use it in one of two ways. Give a creature extra health, so to speak, to trade into something, or give yourself the shield so you get extra HP. That's pretty neat. My only real complaint is that it promotes the kind of decks I don't really like stally decks, since you could just keep giving yourself a shield, more and more shield, more and more shield, and because it's twice the amount of mana you spent -1, if you spend like 9 mana, you know, if you have 10 mana and you spend the 9 plus the 1 to activate it, you're getting 17. So that's 17 extra damage your opponent has to do to you to kill you every other turn. So I feel like this could lead to like really annoying games where you just can't kill your opponent. Cool idea, but I don't like stall games, unfortunately. But, you know, whatever. Good try. Nice card. We got Compendium brings us Hansei the Slave Driver. So this one, all slaves can attack this turn, deal double combat damage, and become vulnerable. Vulnerable means they take double damage. So that's actually really interesting. And Compendium did a really good job in avoiding this being obviously broken. If he had made this Rage and Dominion, it'd be totally busted, because with cards like Ogre Captive and Forced Labor, you could play Ogre Captive on turn 3 and then Forced Labor on turn 4, and you're already threatening 20 damage with the hero power. Yeah, that would be kind of stupid. So with Corruption, you are supposed to use Enchained Souls. Really weird, but the idea is Enchained Souls will do 2 damage, and with cards like the Shrieking Banshee, you could potentially have some dangerous boards. Minotaur can hit for 10. It's pretty cool. It would create a new type of deck, a Corruption Dominion Slave deck. That should be interesting. I don't know how good it would be, but I think the threat of 10 damage Minotaurs is enough that people would be pretty scared. And maybe some Enchained Souls would see play. It's a pretty cool card. From Yvancer, we've got Arael, the Angel of Heresy. And this is probably the most unique of all the cards, because the effect is passive in a sense. Like, the effect doesn't just last like the one time you activate a hero power, then it goes away. No, every time you attach an implant to a creature requiring order, you draw a card, and then that creature no longer receives weakness emblems from your implants. That is to say, you put Overcharger on like a Militia, and if you have the 1 mana to pay, you draw a card, and then the Militia just stays a 4/4, like permanently, right? And that's how that works. So very unique, very interesting. It would basically be played in exactly one kind of deck, but it would be an entirely new kind of deck, and it would make the card Power Spike Armor, which has been absolute trash since the beginning of time, actually good, because you could play it on something. You would have to pay 2 mana instead of 1, but you draw a card, and it's a +1/1 and unblockable. That's a pretty nice bonus. Very, very, very interesting card. Very unique. A bit narrow, but you know what? That's fine. I actually would be looking forward to trying out building a deck around this. Again, there's only 12 implants. I mean, there's technically Helm, but I mean, other than helming an enemy and Triel and drawing a card off of it and having it not get weaker, which is hilarious, you'd mostly just want to use the 12, the Overcharger, the Hook, and the Power Spike armor, and then just run it with like soldiers or something. And there's your deck. Would it be good? I have no idea, but it'd be worth trying out. Very cool card. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Steven. Moving on. Hikari brings us Tiara, the Exalted Warrior. So the hero power summons a Ronin if you don't already have one. The Ronin is this little guy. And the effect also gives all of your warriors +1 attack and Deathless. Deathless is like indestructible until end of turn. So the Ronin himself is a 1/2 with Swift. So he would be a 2/2 with Swift. And then if he attacks and is unblocked, he's a 3/2. Now an interesting thing about this is by unblocked, that means no other creature intercepted his attack. If he attacks another creature, that creature is not blocking him. And this is evident by how the Swift Blade Assassin works, the 3/2 with range, where you have to pay 1 mana if he attacked or blocked. If it is attacked, you do not have to pay the 1 mana, which would suggest that it was not blocking. So the same way with the Ronin, if you attack a creature and nothing can intercept, it's basically a 2/2, 3/2 with a hero power. So now if you're wondering, well, what kind of warriors are in the game? There's actually quite a lot of warriors in nature. There are no warriors in order, but there's cards like Elf Warrior, there is Moonlight Patrol actually, there is like the Elven Skyrider, there's like quite a good number of them, so that's exactly the deck you would play. You play a bunch of warriors, and then when you hero power, they'll get an attack buff, and then you summon the Ronin. It's similar to Hermelian, but rather than multiplying an existing board, you are kind of creating... How do I put it? You're slightly buffing your current board, but you're also summoning that Ronin. It's very similar, but having those guys not be able to die is actually pretty interesting. I think you would basically try this out. You would see, is this better than the Hermelian Elf deck? Maybe it would be, because it's a little bit more flexible in terms of the mana, like the aspect requirements. You could go double nature, for instance, with this, and you wouldn't have to go double order like we did with Hermelian. A little bit more flexible in that sense. Very cool hero. I think it would find a good home in the meta, along with basically with the Hermelian Elf Warrior shenanigans. From Gerance, we've got Mrs. Coronis. Yeah. So the enemy hero decays X cards, where X is twice your corruption level, and then you pick one card and you heal equal to its mana cost. My take on milling hero powers is that they should have a secondary effect that's really cool. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few heroes on this list. I think we've even seen one of them that have this effect, like mill yourself or mill the enemy, and then something cool happens. Because just milling is not very exciting, and not only that, Dominion is not exactly a mill aspect. So just healing a little bit, I don't think is quite good enough. Even if you were to mill them for 6, the Dominion is just kind of doing nothing for you. The hero power is just a little bit boring, but yeah, it's probably worth a try and like just see if you can use just this and like vultures. Basically not run blue at all, just run the corruption mill engine with some Dominion support and see if you can actually make it work. But I generally prefer more exciting mill cards, because honestly I don't think mill is a very interesting way to win the game. Black Griffin brings us Alenstar, the Keeper of Honor. Choose your knight or warrior and an enemy creature with speed equal to or higher than that of the first creature, and then the second creature must block the first creature in this battle. So, and when I first looked at this, I thought it was absolute trash, because I thought, well, isn't this just basic Nepharos? You pick a creature, lower its speed so you can attack it. Like, how is this any good? But there's actually a little bit more to it than that, because you can if your opponent has 2 creatures, you can attack one and then duel the other one. Then the one you dueled has to block your attack, so it's engaged with your creature, and the creature you attacked also cannot do anything. So in that sense, you're almost like stopping 2 creatures from acting in one turn. which is kind of neat, but I just think 3 aspect is way too much for such a small effect. Cool idea, but just too expensive, I think. Well, move to the second page. Oh, here we go. Zakharik has Harn, the Knight of Decay. Burn and Rot. Enemy hero decays 3 cards, and you may summon a copy of one of those cards with all blank levels on top of your deck. I assume what this means is that you can put a copy of one of those 3 cards that you milled on top of your deck with its aspects basically all generic. So this is what I was talking about when I was saying mill with cool effects. This is the same idea, right? You're milling your opponent, but depending on what you mill, you may decide to put that card on top of your deck. If it's removal that you need, there you go. Maybe it's a cool Karthus you want to use against them. So a little bit more interesting than the other one. Also, because it's with Rage, you could probably combine it with Azuris for some serious shenanigans. Yeah, it's a more interesting one because you're not necessarily doing it just to mill them. You're doing it to see if you can maybe find a cool card in their deck. Would be interesting with the Azuris shenanigans. We've got Zoralon's Alexa, the Desperate Soul. So this one, until the end of your turn, or your next turn, I mean, whenever, until the start of your next turn, whenever a friendly order creature dies, it comes back as a zombie legionnaire with a shield emblem. Now the creature is actually transformed into it. So the idea is you play this, or you activate this, and then your board is kind of safe. It's almost like an invisible flesh sculptor is sitting on the back row, that anything that dies, or any order creature that dies, becomes a shielded zombie legionnaire. That's kind of neat, I guess. It probably would be also very annoying because Flesh Sculptor is really annoying, and this basically creates an invisible Flesh Sculptor. Now, thankfully, it only works on order creatures, so it's not going to work with, like, zombie legionnaires, like the zombie legionnaires you summoned. It would be interesting to see if that Corruption Order, like, Soldier Namir deck or whatever would ever work. Yeah, be cool to see. Actually, this kind of deck was once played in the past, but that was back when Instill was 1 aspect and you could play it in different variants, but now you have to play double order basically because Instill is double order. Cool new hero. Would be probably really annoying at times, but hey, it's a counter to Cataclysm. Eat this, Despina. Moving on. Jabix gives us Eudora, the Angel of Honor. Gives a creature honor. What honor does is it makes the creature unblockable, but it also makes it so that if it is attacked, you cannot intercept this attack. So it's like you're unblockable, but anything that attacks you is also unblockable. So the idea is you can either use this to kill a specific creature, because let's say you want one of your guys to be unblocked so it can get through to something, or you can choose an enemy creature and then attack them and, you know, have that attack be guaranteed to go through. It looks like exactly the kind of ability that would be on a basic hero, honestly. It's pretty short, pretty simple, should probably cost just 1 mana. Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. It's another nature order hero. Would probably work well enough with like a Hermelian style deck where you want to pick off specific creatures. But I probably would not be better than that other guy that summons the Ronin and yeah, that gives your guys extra attack and stuff. Because it's 2 aspect, it's a little bit less flexible, and I think basic heroes have to be very easy to activate. But it's cool anyways. Vehement brings us Hermelian, the Righteous Fury. It's basically a mix between Advanced Zash and Advanced Darius. In fact, that's exactly what it is. So, yeah, I mean, it's in a different set of aspects. Well, Rage and Order. Just looking at this, I'm not really sure what I would do with a hero like this. Advanced Nephoros, being in blue, can be played in a kind of a... Did I say Nephoros? I meant Advanced Darius. Can be played as like a controlling hero because you have access to cards like Lamps and Reflectors. And Reactors, too. Whereas this one, Order and Rage don't really go together that well, at least at the moment. I mean, this hero power is obviously powerful, right? I mean, 2 damage and shock all enemies. It's obviously very powerful. But there's not any obvious way to use it. Maybe you just play like a mid-range deck, and then when the time comes for the hero power, you just activate it and then go face. Could be pretty good. This looks like exactly the kind of hero that would absolutely trash people in trials and draft. Yeah. For the same reason Advanced Darius does, but even more so. Moving on, we've got from Raveneer, Ascanius the False Prophet. What's interesting about this guy is that the cooldown increases the more mana you spend. So the more powerful of an ability you choose, the more you have to wait, which is neat. It's most devastating against small creatures because you can just pay 1 mana and kill a 1/1 or a 2/1, and then you just have a 1-turn cooldown. If you want to kill bigger creatures, though, it becomes less efficient. Like, if you want to kill a Karthus, you can do it, but it costs 4 mana, and you have to wait 4 more turns to get it back. So it's, I guess, balanced in that sense. The ability to steal life is useful, too. You're basically stealing an average of 1 life per turn. If you spend 5 mana and steal 5 life, well, then you're not stealing anymore. Or you could steal 1 life per turn for 5 turns. Pretty cool and flexible. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to try this out. Nice job, Raveneer. Lyris brings us Fay Valen, I don't know, Astral Chosen. Distributes 5 energy among your creatures, or actually among any cards, and then any creature buffed this way gets extra attack and speed until end of turn. Pretty straightforward, pretty cool, would work in some kind of a mid-range nature energy deck. Nature and Wisdom are definitely the good choices for this, because those are the cards that have the most energy-related things. Actually, interestingly, Mescation Phoenix is a card that would really like this hero power, because you could actually reload a Phoenix doing this, but you would not run Phoenix in this kind of deck because it's double rage. It's pretty cool. I'm sure you would make something work with it. The only thing right now is that when you compare it to energy aggro, that deck can win because it's much faster and can deliver a lot of damage very quickly, whereas a deck like this looks to be more mid-range. And currently, these kinds of decks just all lose to Cataclysm. So, at the moment, probably wouldn't be that good, but very cool. It would probably be really neat in draft if you can pick up some energy-related cards. And there's a lot of those, actually. And giving your Spectral Aurite 5 energy, it's pretty good. Will Silver. Oh, the card art is just overwhelming. Anyways, basically, the way this one works is it's like a delayed removal. You put the emblem on the enemy creature and your creature, so you have to have something on the board. And next turn, that creature will die. Or if a creature already died, you actually have to kill your own creature, which is pretty funny. But you should gain 3 life. Not sure how you would use this one, but just the effect seems to be pretty good. As basically just removal, right? You pick a creature, next turn it's dead. Kind of like Prinha in that sense. And for only 1 mana, good work. It seems like it would work in like a mid-range burn deck or something where you play this to remove something, and then next turn so you can unleash like a Flame Serpent or something on them. This is another one of those heroes that just has a solid effect, but I don't immediately see what I would do with it. It will probably be really good in trials and draft because, I mean, removal is good. Moving on. Oh, there we go. Dancing Fairy brings us a Dancing Fairy. Okay, it's Flora, the Queen of Bloom. So search your deck for a plant or fairy, goes on top of your deck, and if you do, give a Might emblem to up to 3 creatures you control. Man, this reminds me of the old Word of Vigor where you could do exactly that, and it was actually pretty powerful. So it's a pretty powerful effect for 2 mana. Can buff up your board pretty nicely. Now you do have to actually have a fairy or a plant, but I mean, you could just run a single Fay of Charm, and then if you want to use the ability, just put the Fay of Charm from your hand, Divine Offer it back into your deck, and then just activate it and it goes back on top. This means you could run exactly 1 Fay of Charm, and then you'd always be guaranteed to get it. That's pretty cool, actually. That's really interesting. And the plus 3 Might and 3 Might emblems on 3 creatures, potentially quite powerful. Yeah, I wonder if you would use it with like a mid-range deck of some kind? I don't know, the Wisdom seems a little weird there, but if you play this after like a Library Guard, so you buff like a Library Guards and an Elf Warrior, that's probably good enough, to be honest. So, again, looks like a solid hero. I'm sure there's some possibilities with this one, but it's hard to imagine what I would necessarily do with it. I think a lot of these heroes would be really cool to try out, but currently would be suppressed by just like the dragon combo and the hyper aggressive decks we have. But this is exactly the kind of hero I want to see more of. It's pretty cool. Mr. Ferdon has Coronis, Mistress of Death. Say hello to the most broken hero skills of all of these on the list. Pay X mana and deal that much damage to all enemy creatures. Actually, all creatures. And you heal for the number of creatures destroyed. So, did you think Advanced Zash was powerful? Well, you don't know anything. This is basically Advanced Zash, but for 3 mana instead of 5. And it also heals you. But it gets better. You can pay 5 mana and basically cast a Cataclysm. And also heal yourself. So this is a hero power that can basically be a scalable Cataclysm. For 2 mana, you can wipe a board full of 2 health creatures and heal yourself for a bunch. Or you can cast it for 6 mana and kill everything on the board and heal yourself for a bunch. This hero power is completely broken. Cool, but completely broken. We're almost there, guys. Almost there. We've got Till Ford Cage with the Kalorna Eldritch Bride. So this is yet another one of those mill heroes. This one I think is the most interesting of the bunch. So you mill yourself for X, and then you can search your discard pile, your graveyard, for a card that costs X or less, and then you can just play it without paying its cost. Now, in the same way as Kayana works, playing something without paying its mana cost, you still have to have the aspects to do it. You don't get to just like play it for nothing. So you can't just put a red dragon in there and expect to put it on the board. So the reason I really like this is because when you use it for like the second or third time, you'll have a lot of cards in your graveyard and you can basically choose one to play. It's, I think, really, really strong because you could just have a 1 reanimate in your graveyard and you can basically pay 3 mana, mill yourself for 3, and be guaranteed to be able to play that reanimate. So reanimate decks would go crazy for this hero. Holy jeez. That being said, you do have to mill yourself, but that's what Vulture is for. You just unmill yourself with Vulture. Very powerful, but it's also very interesting as well. And I would love to get my hands on this card and try out some reanimate milling shenanigans. From Ida, we got Ayah, Power Overwhelming. So until end of turn, give your creatures the ability to basically transfer their attack to another creature. So if you have like 3 3/3s, you can just have one of them attacked as a 9/3, and the others are exhausted. My problem is that it costs 4 mana, which is a lot, and unlike Hermelian, you are not actually adding any extra power to your board. It's nice if you want to have a couple small creatures and you want to kill one bigger creature, but I think it's way too expensive. It should cost at most 2 mana. At 2 mana, it might be interesting, but again, you're not necessarily getting any value. It seems like this hero is waiting for something like Double Strike to be invented, and then this hero power would be really good. Moving on, Vitamin C gives us another Jace wannabe card, Kaleem the Mind's Boundary. So this one, you draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, and then the enemy hero does the same. They discard first, though, and then they draw as many as they discarded. So the idea is, you play this again in a reanimate deck, and your hero power basically lets you cycle your hand, which is good. A similar way as the previous one. Your opponent discarding 2 mostly won't mean anything, but occasionally they'll get screwed. Sometimes you'll actually improve their hand, though, so be mindful of that. Basically, the effect of this hero power is the same as Word of Knowledge. Draw and discard the same number of cards, except with Word of Knowledge, you also redraw the Word of Knowledge. So, basically the same thing. Yeah, it would be played exactly in reanimate decks. Not really so much mill decks, mostly reanimate decks. And you can just use this to mill, discard Bezarox and stuff like that. Yeah, would be probably pretty good there. Just like the previous hero. We've got Aramis, the recruiter from Krollmeister. Until end of your turn, whenever 1 or more creatures die, you summon a Vengeful Geist. A Vengeful Geist is a 3/1 flying unstoppable, so pretty powerful. Now, this specifically is whenever 1 or more creatures die, That means that if you trade one creature into another, you only get one Geist, because that is one instance of creatures dying. You don't get two. So it's not like Flesh Sculptor, where it summons a zombie for every one of your creatures that died. It's whenever there is a death of a creature that happens, no matter how many creatures died. Like, if you play Cataclysm, only one Geist comes on the board. This looks good because if you summon any more than one Geist, you got tremendous value because they're such strong attackers. And you could easily arrange this with things like Noxious Fumes, with Plague Vermin, and then you can start instilling back some shenanigans. Yeah, it looks pretty powerful. It'd be fun to try out that Corruption Order deck that once was an interesting one. And that's that. There's only one card which I haven't covered, and that's the actual winner. And here it is, from Doomwatcher, Eon the Eternal Watcher. So, this one, it costs all 6 aspects, but you pay 0 mana, but you just pay 2 mana for each aspect you do not have. So if you have 3 of the 6, you pay 6 mana. Now the effect basically activates any number of enter the field, beginning of turn, or end of turn effects. So wow, I had to look at this and start thinking about this, but honestly, this is the kind of hero you need to sit down and think about. And the reason I like it is because, in theory, any kind of deck, any kind of aspect combination could use this, because you just pay the mana for whatever you don't have. And the number of things you can do with it is ridiculous. You can activate Grand Reunion. You can activate Scatter's Bidding. You can activate Karthus. You can activate, like, I don't know, Storm Fairy? Something like that. There's a lot of things you could do with it. And yes, the idea is maybe try to get the 6 aspects, and then you can do that for free, which is quite insane. But of course, getting the 6 aspects is pretty challenging. The reason I chose this as the winner is because this hero opens up so many different possibilities that it would have the crazy players like Clone and Laurentiel like just try to come up with something really absurd. And I am fairly sure that they would eventually find a really busted deck with this, because the cooldown is only 1. You could create a board where you can just keep paying like 6 mana or 8 mana and activating some ridiculous series of effects. But in any case, I still think it's awesome because there's just so many things you could do with this. It's obviously a very specifically a constructed hero. It's probably really terrible in draft, but that's perfectly okay. Really good job, Doomwatcher. This card is one of those cards where I just look at like, I don't even know what do I do with this? Oh my god, so many ideas. Again, it's the kind of hero that makes you think, and I like that. So, thank you for all your submissions. They were pretty fun. They definitely gave me some ideas. And a lot of people were repeating the same colors. It seems like there's certain things people want to have. Corruption and Wisdom and some kind of a milling theme came up several times. Order and Nature also pairing together quite a lot to, create some kind of a new mid-range deck. I don't know what other decks, what other ideas the developers have, but honestly, Eon looks like the kind of hero they could release in the middle of like a small expansion and like just, hey, have fun with this, because really, any deck could use this, because the requirement is technically no aspect at all. Yeah, put it into whatever deck you want, and one way or another, you'll be able to use it eventually. This is that magical rainbow hero that everyone's been waiting for. Get the 6 aspect and just abuse the hero power. I mean, realistically, even if you get the 5 aspects, you can abuse the hero power pretty badly. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.